What's up, Student Ministry? It's your girl Amanda, and we are back with another Sunday So What? Y'all, we got one more after this. The summer has gone by so fast, and it's sadly coming to an end. But, you know what? We still have some fun stuff in store before you peace out. We have been in the book of Judges in our Sunday sermon, and it has been so good. So if y'all want, we are attending, so we have a 9:30 service and 11 o'clock. So if you want to come worship with us in person, please come. We'd love that. You can register or reserve a spot online. Or if not, we're still doing online, so you can still watch it online. And I really encourage it because Drew's killing it.
And if you come, you get a candy bar.
That's true. We have candy bars for our student ministry homies. So come check it out. But before we start, we always do our fun question. And so our fun question is brought to us by Noah. And so I'm actually going to let him ask it.
So, what are we most excited for during Make It Matter? Like, what attraction?
Okay, I'll go first. I'm so pumped for the taco truck. Love me some food, and I'm so excited.
I've been really
about it.
hyping that up.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
excited about the taco truck.
Man, I gotta say, I love the rodeo. I love everything about the rodeo. One of my favorite events of the rodeo is bull riding. And sadly, we don't have a mechanical bull, but we have a mechanical bull dog.
That's what's up.
Even better.
Mechanical bulldog. Ooh, get ready. Get ready.
There's this attraction that's going to be called the bungee run, and it's where you strap in and like you race people. I'm about to go ahead and hunt with Mandy over here. Really good. Excited.
I'm personally really pumped about knocker soccer.
Ooh.
What's up? Me out on the court. I'm gonna lay you out. No cap.
Okay.
Amanda, what's your favorite?
Oh, I am really excited about the band, to be honest. Like, it's gonna be so good.
Get
Yes,
to worship
speaker,
together again.
yeah, like worship all together is gonna be so cool.
Get the band back together.
But yeah, guys, so don't forget, Make It Matter, August 1st, 6 to 10. We are super excited to see y'all there. All right, y'all. So this morning, like I said, we were in Judges, and we were looking at Deborah and Jael. So 2 women in the Bible. So cool. And so first thing I want to ask our interns, right, is based on this morning's sermon, what was y'all's main takeaway?
Man, I'll go ahead and start. My main takeaway was Drew said he was meeting up with the CEO guy, and he expects him to be like skinny, scrawny, kind of pasty, like nerdy glasses and all this kind of stuff. And this complete opposite guy showed up wearing cowboy boots, and he was big, he's athletic. So like my thing is like, don't go off of previous notions of like what to expect from a person, and then when you see that person, don't like go, oh, okay, so they don't look like this, so they must act like this. So don't judge them before you've met them, and then don't judge them when you see them for the first time, because they could be completely opposite again, and that'll just kind of mess things up already. So just go in every meeting you have with somebody like open-minded and not judge anybody.
Definitely. One of my main takeaways. So there's this commander, Barak, and he only partially obeys God. He's like, well, I'll do it if Deborah can come with me, basically. And so this idea of like partial obedience was really convicting to me. And I think of this verse in Revelations 3 where it talks about how God says you're neither hot nor cold and you're lukewarm, so I spit you out of my mouth. And that's like such a vivid image of God like spitting out this partial obedience. And so that's really my main takeaway that I got.
Yeah. I think for me, I really liked talking through the story because it kind of reminded me God raises up the unexpected. And so even like looking throughout the Bible, right, Jesus was not expected. Like he was born in a manger. You look at David, like Esther, like all these people, no one expected them to like be able to do these great things, but God's able to raise these people up because they were willing to do that. And so I liked how Drew said, don't focus on what you can't do and who you aren't. Really all that matters is that you're willing to do that, and God's going to use you to do amazing things if you are.
So one of the things about all scriptures that gets me fired up the most is God's sovereign power and how he uses whoever he wants, whenever he wants, and he's going to do whatever he wants. And this is just a great story of God using women to carry out his plan, because he's God and he's going to do whatever he wants, and just to show them that the glory doesn't go to man itself; it goes to God.
That's so good, guys. Right, so we're looking and talking about, right, like sometimes, right, God calls all of us to something, and God uses all different people, but sometimes, right, we think he won't use all people. So what kind of restrictions do we place on ourselves and other people in order to be used by God?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say personally for myself, one restriction that I put on myself a lot is like, man, I just don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm spiritually disciplined enough. Or I just don't come from like the best, like growing up in a church my whole life, haven't been in the same church my whole life. I always think that's a restriction to me, but God proves time and time again, like one of my favorite books, cool book, short read, Book of Ruth, a Moabite who wasn't even a Jew, he uses her to set the genealogy of David and then later on Jesus Christ. And so just the restrictions of thinking that you're not good enough.
I think there's a lot. I think a lot of times when I grew up, before I had a job, for like tithing, I was like, well, I only have like $10. I can't tithe. I don't have enough money. And that was one restriction I placed instead of obeying God and like tithing 10%, when I should have trusted God with my money instead of just being like, oh, I only have this much, and thinking I needed more money to be able to tithe. And that was one way that I was really convicted about when I was younger. And then I think now a lot of times I think, oh, well, after college I can tithe because now I have loans or whatever to pay. And so I think a lot of times that's one way that I feel really convicted and have used restrictions to show like partial obedience. And so that's been tough.
Yeah. For sure, and so, right, like we're all called by God, and like once we remove those restrictions, right, like what does it look like to answer the call of God?
Yeah, I think for me, Drew talked about leaning in and then taking spiritual responsibility, and so in that, right, leaning in and being like fully obedient to God, not just partially, but having that willing heart. And so then taking spiritual responsibility, meaning like you're going out and you're purposely like looking for ways to God use you and to serve or whatever that looks like for you, but really just praying and asking God to use you and being willing to do wherever he calls you to go. So.
Yeah, I agree. Like using that call, like what does it look like to answer the call of God? It's very hard. Like there's something that God calls us, he can call us to do many things, from helping an old lady across the street to being like Moses and leading his people out of Egypt. Like it's extremely hard, so we have to be willing, and we have to be open, and we have to be just broken before the Lord to come in and do what he says correctly and on time, because like that's what we're called to do, and we're not called to shy away from what the Lord is calling us to do with it.
Sure. Definitely. No, y'all, that was so good. And I think Diego makes a great point, right? Like sometimes we think of the call of God being like, all right, what am I going to do with my life? Like, what's my career or my job going to be? And you're being called right now, and it doesn't have to do, right, with what you're going to do when you're older. It's what you're going to do right now. Helping a lady cross the street, helping out a friend, reaching out to your neighbors, sharing the gospel with people at school. Like all of that starts now because God's calling you to something right now. And we're all should be encouraged to answer that call. And some of you might be thinking, oh, I'm too young for this. Or sometimes, right, we live in a society where gender is a big conversation right now, or race is a big conversation right now. And the cool thing is that everybody, regardless of our differences, is created in the image of God and is called by God. And so you're being called right now regardless. And like Noah said, right, we think we're not good enough. Honestly, the Bible is full of people that technically we consider not good enough, but God saw something in them and he called them anyways. And so you were loved, you were called, and God has some really cool and exciting things that he's going to do in your lives. But yeah, so we have a couple announcements. First off, again, Make It Matter. August 1st, 6 to 10. We can't wait to see you guys.
It's going to be so dope.
It's going to be so fun.
Amazing.
Secondly, this Wednesday night, we have a drive-in movie night for all our NEBC families. So if you haven't registered, go register. You can help us vote on what movie we're going to watch. We're serving popcorn, candy, soda, Capri Sun. All kinds of good stuff. So that's 7:30 to 10. And then that's it. We're done with live stream. So that is no longer an announcement. But we had so much fun doing that with
Go
you.
watch them. They're on YouTube.
So good. But yeah, we love y'all. And we'll see